Second, people. I remembered what I wanted to talk about last night. The Young Thug album. It was coming up on 11 p.m. Mountain Time. Uh, it was coming up on 11 p.m. Mountain Time around here, or 10 p.m. Mountain Time here when the album was supposed to drop. He was 3 hours late with it. So that's what I was going to talk about, my frustration with that. But I just could not find my train of thought last night. Luckily, we managed to catch up on sleep, and now we're feeling a lot better. And the album was fantastic. He waited 3 hours. He didn't drop it till 3 a.m. over on the East Coast. But worth the wait, man. Worth the wait. There's some great songs. And the feature list is crazy. Feature list is crazy. Everybody really brought their A game. I've thought that J. Cole and Young Thug just worked so well together on Stressed. And then 1 second here. Who is the third person on that album? This is gonna drive me insane. Not on that album, on that song. Oh, wow, we are just in rare form today, guys. Sorry you got to deal with me right now, but trust me, we'll get better. So the third person on that song is Shyne. Yeah, Shyne absolutely murdered that verse. He was like being really raw, really honest. That's one of the best verses I've ever heard from him. Gunna, as usual, showed up and did his thing. Real Recognize Real was a decent song, but I really liked Insure My Wrist. What is the sample on that song? I cannot find it anywhere on the internet. No one seems to have the answer. If you know what that sample is on Insure My Wrist, please tell me, because it's so good. That girl's voice is like haunting. There's been some really good use of samples on I thought the Fair Trade sample on Drake's album was just fantastic. I didn't think that was going to be beat all year, but that one on Insure My Wrist fits perfectly with the song. And speaking of Drake, him and Travis did their thing on Bubbly. That song kind of felt like an afterthought to me. They both did their thing with their verses, but it's very short, and it just kind of felt like a one-off. Didn't really fit in with the rest of the songs in the album. It's still good. Particularly, I thought Travis had the best verse out of all three of them. Post Malone and ASAP Rocky, though, that might be my favorite one on the whole album. Living It Up, really, really good. Rocky's verse is crazy. I thought he was Young Thug at first. I've never really heard him, croon and sing like that on a song, but he did it really well. He's not known for that at all. He definitely can be really, artistic and unorthodox with like his beat choices and his like slower flows. And with the collaborators that he brings onto his album, but he's usually his actual style of rapping is actually very traditional. So I was really surprised to hear that from him. And I'm interested to see if there's anything like that on his album that's coming out here soon. And then I thought the song with Doja Cat was decent. I thought her verse was better. It felt like a Doja Cat song that Young Thug just kind of hopped on. I really don't like the chorus though on that song Icy Hot. Not my favorite. I loved Mac Miller on the outro. That was a wonderful posthumous feature. I always get worried when I see those, especially with Pop Smoke's album that came out this year. With the last X album was just a disgrace. Sometimes we just got to let these things die. We don't have to dig up every single 40-second piece of music that someone found on a USB somewhere. I think we can, the truly great artists, their legacy will stand the test of time, and you don't have to hemorrhage their corpse for more dollars. I think that's really messed up. And I don't like how that's sort of becoming a common practice, especially with all these rappers that are dying from violence. Is messed up. And it really, not only does it sully their memory, but it lets the industry just keep making money off them. They won't even let them rest in peace. It's disgusting. But with all that said, I thought the Mac Miller feature on here was actually really tasteful and really well done. And Nate Russ absolutely killed it. That Love You More is definitely, I think, one of the top 5 or 3 songs on the album. Again, I've only listened to it about 1.5 times through. These are just kind of my first impressions, but Nate Russ absolutely killed it. Hate the Game is a wonderful song. I know he dropped 4 of these before the album came out, and I actually got a chance to see him at Lollapalooza. And I'll tell you what, this tour is going to be, if you have a chance to catch this tour, I definitely recommend it. His set at Lollapalooza was a little short. He was late, so he didn't get to play all of his songs. He got cut off, which was kind of a shame because he was really starting to get into some of the older hits that I was excited for. But his setup for this tour, he was on top of a giant pink spider that was in like a glass box. He had like a wardrobe change. At one point, he had these black wings on. He put a lot into the stage work for this show, and I think that's a pretty good preview of what the tour is going to be like. Die Slow is an incredible song. He talks about his mom and his dad essentially getting into this squabble when his mom had moved on and was seeing someone who was a deputy sheriff. It was a whole violent situation. Somebody ended up getting run over, and he doesn't make it super specific, but it seems like Young Thug was pretty young when he saw all of this go down, and it's clear that it really sticks with him. That's probably the most personal note of the album, is right off the top. I would say that Droppin' Jewels, and on Droppin' Jewels and Hate the Game, towards the end, he does get a little bit more personal than he usually does. And I enjoyed that. I like hearing, Young Thug is such a, an enigmatic kind of figure, and you never, on any given song, you just have no idea what he's going to do. I mean, he could scream, he could give you an 11-second long skirt ad lib, he could strain his voice, he could sing. I mean, he's just so, as he says, he's pure. He does whatever he wants to on a song. And when you get a little kind of peek behind the curtain at who he is, I always really enjoy that. And there's definitely moments like that on this album that I think flesh it out more than some of his other projects. At the same time, though, I don't really know where this lands in the discography right now. I got to give it more time because he has some classics under his belt at this point. My two favorites, I think, are always going to be Jeffrey and Beautiful Thugger Girls. Really go back and forth for me, but I mean, you go back to the old Slime Season albums. Barter 6 is also another one that just knocks start to finish, and so much fun that he dropped a couple years ago. I can hang with all of them. It's really tough. He's one of the hardest workers in the game. He's always putting out new music. And even like the Label compilation that came out earlier this year with all the material that's on that, it's crazy to think that he had, enough for another 20 song album. But I know he's one of the hardest workers in the game. I mean, he said at one point that he has over 1,000 unreleased songs. So first impressions, I really like this album. I'm gonna give it some more time. I also really, really like Don Toliver's album that came out, just a week ago now. 2 weeks ago now. And that thing is just stellar. So two real contenders for my favorite of the year in just a couple of weeks. So I'm a happy camper right now. I'll give you some more thoughts on this thing as it ages, but that's just kind of my initial impressions. I thought Young Thug did a really cool job. Also, some of the coolest cover art I've seen in a minute. All right, thanks guys. I'll talk to you later. What did you think of the Young Thug album? Let me know.